All right, let's welcome in our NFL analyst and power rankings guru, Pete Prisco. So, Pete, what do you make of the Lamar Jackson situation? Again, March 7th is the deadline, but what do you anticipate will happen between both sides?
Well, they're going to tag him. I mean, clearly, he wants that guaranteed contract, much like Deshaun Watson, and teams are going to be reluctant to give him that. If he does get that, by the way, it's going to open up an entire new way of doing business with NFL quarterbacks, because Joe Burrow's going to get that, Justin Herbert's going to get that, and on it goes. So I think teams are being, a little reluctant to give that guaranteed contract, fully guarantee it. And they made him an offer that would make him, right there at the top of all the quarterbacks in the league. It's just he wants guaranteed money, the entire contract. That's not going to happen with the Ravens. So what do? They'll tag him. And when they tag him, which tag do they put on him? And here's why I say that. Normally, you'd put the exclusive tag on him, because then you couldn't lose him, $45 million. But if you put the non-exclusive tag on him, you allow another team to do your negotiating for you. And if you don't like the deal that they do, then you can, obviously not match it and get 2 first-round picks. So I think that would be something I would consider if I were the Ravens, because this has been a tough negotiation when you go head-to-head with your star player and he doesn't have an agent. So I think from that standpoint, it might make it a lot easier for the Ravens to actually get a deal done, because somebody else would do it for him.
Again, he's an elite talent, but people question if he's a pro-style type of passer. Greg Roman no longer there in Baltimore. Todd Monken now on the stage to help him out once he's able to get to camp. Here's Todd Monken on his quarterback.
Elite. He's got an elite skill set. I mean, it's obvious when you watch him on film. I mean, the things he can do with the football and the plays that he makes. And I think he's underrated as a passer. Maybe I think so, in terms of his ability to make plays and throw it down the field. So you've all seen it. I mean, I'm like you. I'm no different than you. I watch what you guys watch, and it's pretty amazing.
Todd just came from Georgia, but he does have NFL experience, and we know under Bobby Petrino, we know Lamar Jackson played in a pro-style offense. What do you anticipate that relationship will be with Jackson and Monken?
Look, I've known Todd for a long time. Todd was a wide receiver coach in Jacksonville way back in the day, and he became an offensive coordinator, and he's coached in college. He's done it all, and I think Todd Monken's a brilliant guy. But what Todd Monken wants to do is throw the football. I mean, that's his background. He wants to throw the football, and I think he's going to try and make it easy for Lamar Jackson to become that pocket passer. You can still run. You can still get outside and create with your legs and create problems for a defense, but he's got to be better throwing the football, and they got to do a better job of getting him help throwing the football, and that means playmakers on the outside. He's got a top tight end in Mark Andrews, we know that, but he needs more help on the outside. He needs guys to step up like Bateman. I think that's a big ask of him this year. He's got to really elevate his game, but I think Todd Monken will be good for this offense. It's going to be more conventional. It's going to be more down the field, and I think Lamar Jackson is plenty capable of standing in there and making the throws.
All right, we talked about Todd Monken, one of the new offensive coordinators around the league. And Pete, most of those openings have been filled with the exception of Denver, Philly, and Kansas City, all teams that have offensive-minded head coach. We put together this graphic here, Pete, about, OCs making lateral moves like Kellen Moore, Mike LaFleur, Eric Bieniemy, those with some experience like Todd Monken. And then there's the inexperienced group. Let's start with the inexperienced group first. Dave Canales, Thomas Brown, Drew Petznick, and Bobby Slowick. Which of those are you most high on in terms of guys maybe getting their first gig?
Bobby Slowick, and here's why. I think Bobby Slowick is going to bring the 49ers offense to the Texans, and that makes it easy on the quarterback. And when you've learned from Kyle Shanahan, you know how to call plays, you know how to really get the running game going, and that will take the pressure off any young quarterback, whoever it will be, for the Houston Texans. So I think that's a great hire by the Texans. He's going to bring that offense in there. And DeMeco Ryans, defensive guy, he's watched that offense every day in practice. He knows how good that offense can be. So I really like that hire.
What about guys with experience or making these lateral moves? Which coach are you most high on or maybe looking out for when it comes to camp coming up soon here, Pete?
Well, look, I mentioned Todd Monken. I think he's a really good coach, but the guy to keep an eye on is Bill O'Brien. Bill O'Brien is a brilliant offensive mind. Look, he had some flaws when he was the head football coach of the Texans. Tried to be a lot like Bill Belichick, but Bill O'Brien's a really good offensive mind, and we saw what happened in New England last year. It was a disaster, and that's at the foot of Bill Belichick. He's to blame for that. So I think getting Bill O'Brien to help that offense and get Mac Jones playing better football, I think that's a great hire by the New England Patriots.
All right, we have the NFL Combine coming up, the draft coming up. And Pete, it used to be that if you were a late round pick, 5th, 6th round, you'd almost want to be a free agent so you can pick your destination. I'm coming into Derek Carr here, whether I'm asking you it's an advantage or disadvantage, because he's kind of ahead of all the other free agent quarterbacks being able to be out there in the market. So if I were to ask you for him and his situation, advantage or disadvantage?
Oh, I think it's an advantage. I mean, he's out there, he's ready to go, and he's already talking to people. That's definitely an advantage. And, it sounds like Derek Carr is going to milk this for everything it's worth, and I would too. I'd make these teams, I'd pit them against each other. Like they always used to say, if you have one team that likes you, that's nice. If you have two, that's a negotiation, and they're going to go against each other, and that's the best way to help yourself. So if I'm Derek Carr, I'm going to take my time as well and hope I can get to pit two teams against each other and see if I can drive that price up, because he's going to get a good deal. It's just a matter of where he gets it from.
Pete, you've been active on Twitter. Jets fans or comments, of course, with them. What's gotten you awry in terms of him potentially going to New York?
Well, I mean, the Jets supposedly told him that he could be a first ballot Hall of Famer if he comes there and wins a Super Bowl. No, he's not. He's the first ballot of Hall of Good. I mean, he's in that same class with all those guys. They're all, it's Kirk Cousins, it's Ryan Tannehill. They're all the same. They're not win because of, they're win with. And that's what he is. He's never going to be a win because of quarterback. So to think that guy could be a first ballot Hall of Fame is absurdity.
Let's end with Brock Purdy out in San Francisco, postponing elbow surgery due to inflammation that we're hearing. Of course, he's dealing with that UCL. They've got Trey Lance. Jimmy Garoppolo's no longer going to be a part of Kyle Shanahan's system here. So given the timetable, even that 6-month timetable, Pete, that's pushing it pretty close to August and September. What do you make of the Brock Purdy news and as it pertains to San Francisco?
Well, there's also a chance, Tommy, if they go in there and they see the damage is much more severe than expected, it could be the entire year. That's something that people aren't talking about. There's also that possibility. And so I think, when you look at this, I wouldn't count on Brock Purdy if I were the 49ers. I would go into this season saying, hey, look, Trey Lance is going to be my quarterback. And you know what? You traded all those assets and you went up to go get him. You better hope he's a good player, because if not, that's on the organization. And you can't just count on Brock Purdy coming back and being the savior of the franchise. It's such a small window of games and such a small look at his career that anybody that can sit here and say, hey, Brock Purdy is the long-term answer for the 49ers, you have no idea. No idea. And I think that's why I think Trey Lance will be the starting quarterback this year. And if he plays well, he might end up being the starting quarterback for the long term.
Got to go, Pete, but a yes or no. Then do they need to get like a Taylor Heineke, Sam Darnold, Case Keenum type?
Yes, get a veteran backup, bring him in, guy who knows the offense. I think that may make a lot of sense behind Trey Lance.
All right, Pete Prisco joining us. Appreciate you, Pete. Want to remind everybody of the Pick Six podcast, host Will Brinson and the Super Friends, Ryan Wilson and John Breach. In the latest podcast, which NFL team needs the most changes to their roster? The guys discuss which team in each division needs the most offseason help this year.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.